Hey, so I just picked up a new lens, and I wanted to talk a little bit about whether or not APS-C is dead. Stay tuned to find out. If you don't know me already, I go by That One Camera Guy. I do tutorials, guides, and reviews on Sony mirrorless equipment and gear. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on the latest content. And if you love the content that you're getting, don't forget to smash that like button because that stuff always helps out my channel. So this video is really just me sort of babbling and talking about whether or not APS-C is dead. And it's also a great opportunity for me to talk a little bit about this lens I just picked up, which is the Sigma 16mm F1.4. I know I own quite a few full frame cameras, but I also do own quite a few APS-C cameras, quite a lot actually. But I haven't given up on it. I know Jason Vong and I joke about whether or not APS-C is dead on our live podcast. If you're not catching that, we should do it every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It comes up every now and then because Sony is not producing APS-C lenses. They just aren't. And so what ends up happening is third-party manufacturers like Sigma and Tamron, I guess, are going to have to step in. Right now, Sigma is killing it with these prime lenses. Now, jumping back to this prime lens, I actually did a rental on this, use it for a little bit. I didn't get to use it enough to feel comfortable, bringing out a review, but I did try it out, and when I did use it, it was really great. I really love the sharpness and quality that I got out of it. But I am going to be shooting a little bit more, maybe over the weekend and the next week or two, and probably doing a video on it. But I did pick this up recently, and I got it from Adorama. There was a really awesome sale going on, about 20% off on eBay. And when I saw that pop up, I was like, okay, what am I going to get, right? I don't know if you've ever been in those situations where you got a really great coupon deal, and you're like, what am I going to buy with this discount? And so I was searching around, and this lens kind of popped up on my radar the last time there was a coupon deal, but I didn't catch it in time. But this was 20% off its retail price, which goes for about $450, $460. And what's really great is Adorama sells on eBay, which is great because I didn't want to pick up a gray market. I wanted a US warranty-based one. And so with the 20% off, I got it for about $369. Can you believe that? Almost $100 off the retail price. I could not say no to that. And if you can get yourself a copy at that price, it is a steal. You must go ahead and grab this lens. It's a phenomenal lens. So a couple other things, the reason why I like it, these prime lenses, build quality is really good, optics are really good, and again, Sigma is stepping it up with that. And then when matched up on an APS-C body, you're really going to like the size and weight that you get out of it. So it'd probably be really good for gimbal work. Now, the lens that I'm using right now to film me, I've mentioned it before in the past, Sony a6300 and the Rokinon 12mm F2. I'll probably do a video on it, comparing it to the Miki one. I have another one of those ultra wides, and maybe even doing a comparison to this one and seeing, whether or not you would be interested in picking one of those up, and just looking at it overall. But this video is really just talking about APS-C and whether or not it's dead, and would love to have your feedback in the comments below about what your thoughts on whether or not APS-C is dead. And I think the best way to put into perspective is, has Sony given up on APS-C? My answer is no. They're really just lagging on APS-C. Considering the fact that they haven't given up on their 1-inch sensor, right? They just released and announced an RX100 Mark VI. So they're definitely not giving up on their 1-inch type sensor. It'd be funny if they gave up on their APS-C and put all their energy in their 1-inch type sensors, but I doubt that they are, and we're going to see some more APS-C growth in the future. But I think because of the A7 III, which I've got back there, I think it just sort of changed the field for what it has to offer. And I think there's been posts already about the executives from Sony saying they're focusing on full frame as far as trying to own that market segment, right? You're seeing a lot of those videos where, hey, I just moved over from Canon to Sony, or hey, I just moved over from Nikon to Sony, and everyone's picking up the A7 III right now because you're getting a lot of value for the money. But I think what usually happens is when people go over to Sony, they realize, oh crap, lenses are expensive, or oh crap, there's not a lot of third-party options right now. And I think that's where Canon and Nikon still have a very strong grasp, is their lens options and choices. But Sony's making a lot of grounds with full frame, which is a good thing. It's a good sign. It means their market is doing well. And if they're doing well in that market, they can put some more emphasis later in the APS-C. But for the longest, I think there's been a dry spell from Sony. The last lens they brought out was the Sony 18-135, which is kind of like your travel zoom lens. Pretty good range, not too bad. I did do a rental on that, but I didn't get to do like a full review of that lens. Unfortunately, I didn't feel like comfortable with all my tests with it yet. So more than likely, what might happen is I'll put my money where my mouth is for APS-Cs. I'll probably pick up a copy or just do a longer rental. The funny thing is that lens, when it first was announced, I said the price was wrong altogether because it retailed for $599 when it was announced. And lo and behold, within a span of a few months, they dropped the price $100 to $499, which I think is a little more reasonable. I think it's still too much. I think it should be $399 or so. But I'm sure those lenses are flying off the shelves. But when that came out, there was just a lot of resentment from the APS-C shooters because they're like, hey, you told us to get your APS-C camera, right? I feel even bad for the people who bought the APS-C cameras from a long time ago, way back when, right? When they first came out. And with the hopes that Sony was going to release more lenses. But there just hasn't been more lenses. It's just been kind of like a dry spell of lenses. And then you come out with a slower 18-135 f3.5 to 5.6 zoom, and you're just like, what are you doing? Everyone was kind of hoping for a fast f2.8 lens. Speaking of those lenses, I have one here that Sony really needs to release, or third-party manufacturers cool too, right? And I know I've got it mounted to a Canon 80D, so don't be alarmed. Is this? If you own one or have had a chance to have like a 1750 f2.8, these things are amazing for their price, for what they have to offer. I bought mine, what was it, like 7 years ago now, for about $600 for my Canon 7D Mark II. Sorry, Canon 7D back then. And this was just a great price point at the time. f2.8, 1750 zoom range. Phenomenal for what it has to offer. And this is the lens, I think, that we need to see for APS-C. Let me know in the comments below. Now, I know the size is a bit unwieldy. Maybe they can make it a shorter zoom range, but keep the size smaller. Or do you not mind this size? Would you like to see a lens like this for APS-C? I don't mind the size if the quality and the range is there at f2.8. I think that's much better than not having one. But let me know if Sony needs to release one of these lenses or a third-party manufacturer. But the reason why I like this lens now is it only goes for under $300 gray market. It's insane. So I have these for my classroom, so I picked up quite a few of these. We do use like Canon cameras and Nikon cameras in my class, but these are just really great lenses overall. One lens is sort of just do a handful of things for you, and constant aperture, f2.8. And then you come around with Sony, hey, we're going to release an 18-135 at f3.5 to 5.6, and all you hear are crickets, and then you get a price drop. So sad times all around. I think that's the vibe. People are just getting, hey, Sony just doesn't care, and I know the sentiments of APS-C being dead is a big problem. Now, jumping really quick back to the Sigma 16mm, I remember I think they were talking to the CEO or the high-up for Sigma with lenses. He said, you definitely want to make sure sales are going well. So hopefully you picked one of these up, or a 30mm, because I think he said they were looking to build more APS-C lenses if there was enough interest. So definitely make sure you're grabbing this, and there will be a link down below if you're looking for one of these. So yeah, that's APS-C right now, and Sony needs to bring one of those lenses out. I know there's Laowa and Zeiss. They've had some APS-C lenses, but there just hasn't been any great offerings as of late. And the sort of like, for example, if you know the Zeiss 24 f1.8, I looked up that lens. It's $1,000. It's an older lens, sort of, for APS-C, but it's $1,000. The prices are completely off and ridiculous. Speaking about normal zoom lenses, if you're interested in it, I am looking to do kind of like a guide on comparing several different normal zoom lenses for APS-C. I did do one for full frame. I looked at a variety of 24 to 70 millimeter zoom ranges, which you can find the video over here. If you are interested in seeing one for APS-C, which some have suggested for me to do, leave a comment down below or hit the like button. That always helps a lot. And you'll probably see one maybe in the next few weeks or so when I do get a chance to test them out. But I am going to have to either purchase or do some rentals on some of those lenses because I don't own all of them. I do have like the 16 to 70 f4, the 18 to 105 f4. I have the 16 to 50 kit lens, but I'll probably pony up a little bit more cash to get a couple of them. But that's usually a struggle that I have as far as reviewing goes, is that I have to make a decision whether or not to buy the lens or do a rental. It's always kind of like a topic of debate. So that's going to do it for me in this video. I know I rambled on a lot. I apologize for that, but it's more of just kind of venting a little bit about APS-C. I don't think it is dead, and I haven't given up on APS-C. Like I said, I'm putting my money where my mouth is and still investing in APS-C glass, but it's getting harder to decide. But the problem is that I think this is mindset that Sony thinks that everybody's got $2,000 to drop on an A7 III, for example. That's farther from the truth. I think what we need to see are, for example, like the A6000, maybe a refresh model. A6000 Mark II, for example, keep it at a fair price point, $500 to $600. Bring in some nice prime lenses. I guess Sigma's the one doing all the work on that end. Are we going to see an Alpha 6700 A7000? Obviously, we are. Whatever that name might be, it's obviously going to be out there. But Sony's going to do what they normally do. They're going to price it higher. Remember, they never really replaced the camera. They sort of just release another series above the previous one. So that's the reason why they still have the A6000, 6300, 6500, right? If they release a 6700, it's going to be like $1,500 to $1,600. The question is, what are you going to get in that camera that's going to make you want to go ahead and grab the 6700 over, for example, the A7 III, price point wise? So I don't know what Sony's going to do. They kind of have to be a little careful because if you're dropping an A6700 close to $1,600, you might end up just pushing people to just go full frame eventually because there's no reason for it. So what are your thoughts too? What do you think the 6700 is going to have? I know I did a video on this already, so I'm not going to do any more speculation until we get closer to a potential release for that camera. But what do you think this APS-C camera needs to have to spark your interest again? So leave all that stuff in the comments below. Hey, don't forget to like the video if you found it interesting or helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on the latest content. And with that said, I'm your host, That One Camera Guy, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.
I left my heart in California. I let it go deep into the blue.